All right, what's going on, everybody? This is eRoo, Eric here. I got little Theo with me today, so let's go over what we're about to see today with NVDA earnings coming up after the bell. We also do have Snowflake and CrowdStrike, but I think everybody's eyes are just going to be watching NVIDIA or NVIDIA. So if you guys are here with me, go ahead and comment in the chat box. Let me know where you're from. Let me know if you're here with Stacks, with ICC, if you're here with TraderLink, or if you're just a YouTube user just browsing the web trying to find out some good information for these earnings that are coming up. This is the Super Bowl. This is the big one in terms of the earnings cycle when it comes down to the markets. I will as well let you guys know in my channel, if you guys are here with Stacks or in our ICC channel, if you are in our TraderLink as well, I did repost this for everybody. Our NVIDIA earnings review or preview today after market close. It has finished what we call a Wyckoff accumulation, reaccumulation, sorry. And what we've already seen is we're already broken up into the higher ranges. Now, it's kind of hard to tell. I do believe that we potentially could be seeing this sign of strength coming soon, but it doesn't mean that we couldn't see a small pullback into a last point of supply. If we do see it drop down toward about 160 to 170, I could definitely see it getting snatched up and bought up at that point. So the expectations are pretty high. The EPS is up, 47 to 53% year over year. The revenue is also up year to year. So it's just, there's a lot of high expectations when it comes down to the NVIDIA earnings for this cycle. Bullish catalyst, a lot of upgrades. Morgan Stanley's bullish, right? Price target at 225. The China deal, the 15% revenue sharing. Keep in mind that isn't going to be in this particular. Oh, I got you, buddy. It's not going to be in this earnings cycle, so that'll be reflected in the next one. But the China deal, having the revenue sharing, does actually increase the amount of money that they should be making. Okay, it is money that they got to split off, but it is, it's better to have a piece of that and to have that, that revenue stream than not. The AI data center demand remains extremely strong, continues to dominate the space. But again, the bearish risks, the export uncertainty, if China limits their purchases, things like that, and the PE ratio being stretched at about 50x leaves little margin for error. Give me 1 sec. I'm going to put this little boy down for a minute. I'm going to switch us over to Stacks just so you guys can see. I'm going to leave it on NVIDIA so you guys can see what's been coming in right now as we head into, not quite close yet. We still got an hour and 20 minutes, but we're going to hang out here. We're going to take a look. It's starting to look, it's always looked this way. It's fairly bullish. We see a lot of calls being purchased, but here and there we'll see some puts being bought. This one's kind of an eye-opener. This one's buying for the 182.5. And that's just for Friday. So keep in mind, if you see these 829s coming in, those are extremely high risk. You also noticed a lot of them are buying in the money, but if we see out of the money with millions of dollars being spent, those are situations to really consider. So a lot of big money, these could very much just be hedges when they're aiming for the downside, trying to protect their portfolio, because so much is riding on these earnings right now. Yeah, let's keep an eye on this as we go into it. Again, if you guys are here watching, go ahead, let me know you're here. Comment what platform you're here from. If you're on Stacks, if you're in ICC Discord, if you're in TraderLink, let's discuss and have a conversation as to what we see coming up for NVIDIA. Give me 1 sec with the baby. Looks like I didn't switch it over, but okay. NVDA earnings, we've got stacks on the screen right here. We're seeing a lot of buying for calls at this point. A couple of these, that's kind of a gamble right there. This one right here, the 829.202. So if it doesn't make it its way up past 200 after these earnings, they're gonna lose what, 180K on that one. Obviously, that's, you know, to some of these big money interests, that's not actually that bad. They've got millions and millions, if not billions, in their portfolio. So reminder, we're looking for short-term, out-of-the-money, high expiration. So if you take a look at the signals, that little hourglass that we see is a sign that they're looking for very short-term situations. Yeah, little baby's unhappy. It's NVIDIA earnings. I know, I don't know what direction it's about to go either. No, he just wants to be held. I just changed his diaper, so he should be good for a little bit. All right. What's up, buddy? What's up, buddy? All right. Max should be joining us in due time. And again, we just want to watch this NVIDIA earnings. But as we do this, I also want to bring up a couple of plays that we've been looking at. One of them is American Airlines, AAL, where we do have these November calls for $14. We just saw some more, a 1.4 mil, 1.5 mil come in today at that 85 cent mark. OI is extremely high. You guys can see here, open interest continues to tick up higher. So that's something to consider in terms of them. They're getting ready for some sort of news is probably going to come up for November for American Airlines. So I would definitely expect that in terms of it. You can go with a little bit shorter term. This one for September, end of September. Same $14 calls. American Airlines is right at that $13 mark right now, and again, you know, that's something that I do expect that we're gonna see a big move. We're gonna see some sort of news being announced for American Airlines coming up soon. This one was brought up by a member. EOSE. Little boy is not happy today. Sorry about that. EOSE, another Wyckoff accumulation type of situation. We need to see it break up above and see a true sign of strength above in this upper range. But I definitely think that we're going to start to see another move pretty soon above that $7 range for EOSE, which is an energy company. And definitely we see a lot of interest and money moving into energy, especially with all the AI demand. So EOSE. Alongside with that, Stacks actually shows quite a bit of bullish sentiment too. So if you filter just for the buys, they're buying for 2027. That $10 strike looks pretty good to me. You know, right under $2 per contract for that one. But again, that's a 40 almost 50% move to the upside that they're expecting, which I think, you know, plenty of time, very possible with that type of formation in terms of the Wyckoff accumulation. Let's discuss real quick. So I made 2 calls in our Discord. Right there. Made 2 callouts in our Discord. This is under our Degenerates channel. The Degenerates channel is basically earnings gambles and any sort of high risk situation. I picked out these 2, but I want to talk to you guys a little bit about how I found these 2 and why it's those 2 that I'm picking out in terms of it. 9/5, so next Friday. So we're buying, you know, 7 days of time in terms of it. So we got tomorrow, Friday, and then the 5 days of next week. 7 days of time instead of buying just Friday, okay? I'm looking at the 200C and then the 160 put. Those would be my 2 gambles. Why? Well, let's discuss that real quick. The 2 gambles, I'm looking at NVIDIA options chain right now, and what I'm looking for are the open interest, right there, open interest and implied volatility. Sorry, open interest and volume. Okay. There we go. Open interest, volume. Okay. So we're going to scroll down to where we're at here. And you can see NVIDIA is about 180. Let's just call that 182. We're looking at, on the right side are the puts, on the left side are the calls. Now what we want to see are these larger numbers when it comes down to volume and open interest. The ones that kind of stick out to me, the 190 right here, we got 27,000 in terms of the open interest. We had 20,000 volume today, and then the 200 as well. You notice how the rest of these numbers kind of drop off along the way. 185 is not bad, but for an earnings gamble type of thing, especially, well, implied volatility is not terrible on these, but we also want to keep in mind, if I'm doing the 185, that's about $500 a contract. So while those could be profitable and are, you know, the money has to be worth that gamble, because you have to remember, for earnings, it's very possible this is going to go down to zero. You know, if I pick the wrong side, this contract goes to zero. If I pick the right side, it can easily multiply. So my risk profile says, for earnings situations, I don't like to spend too much more than like 100 to 150 bucks per contract. And so that's why the 200 looks pretty good to me. $1.34 at this point, with a lot of open interest and volume. And another thing is, we're not buying for the end of this week, which gives us a little bit more buffer time. It does not have to go to 200 and past it. If we have a sharp spike and a move up in that direction, it very likely can make some money. 160 puts on this side, you'll see as well. Open interest at 3,000, volume at 7,000, or yeah, 30,000 and 7,000. So again, some of the bigger numbers in terms of what we have here, those ones are right under $100, so about 96 cents per contract. So 96 bucks per contract at this point. Those would be my two earnings gambles. Now keep in mind, size to zero, because if this goes in the wrong direction, you will lose out on that entire premium as we go. Let's go back and check out Stacks, see what Stacks is saying when it comes down to NVIDIA. You'll see a lot of NVIDIA calls coming in today as of right now. So another one, 177.5. They're spending $8 per contract on that. So $840 for the 177. Oh yeah, 177.5 strike. They bought 200 of those. That's not exactly a ton. It's in the money. And I was looking. I do believe that if NVIDIA does break down below, there's going to be a pretty sharp fall. There's a lot of contracts positioned for that to happen. So let me know, what are you guys thinking? Are you guys bullish or bearish on NVIDIA? Do you think it's going to go up or down after this earnings call? I definitely think overall it's bullish when it comes down to just the momentum and the trajectory of the company. But there is starting to be a little bit of doubt when it comes down to the AI sector at this point. So we'll see. I'm going to leave this up for now for a sec. I'm going to get this baby a bottle, so hopefully he'll be a little quieter as we get into the final hour before we have our earnings call. All right, I'm back. Everybody got some NVIDIA calls, expiration, end of week. Yeah, I mean, those are the big, you know, I see you on Instagram. I see you playing your poker. You definitely have a little bit more of a, you know, a gambling approach on that one. Because, again, if it goes in the wrong direction, that one's going to lose out very quickly. But the good thing about the position that you have, right? Let me double check what you said you got. Yeah, 160 puts. You got them last week, right? Yeah, if it makes a move toward it. The hard thing about that position is the fact that you only have 2 days for it to reach that 160. So if it does spike downward overnight, I would probably look to get out pretty quick. Because if it does reverse, it starts to go against you. The profits from that go away very quickly. So just be aware of that in terms of the risk when it comes down to it. All right. So yeah, you see some people getting out of some of these calls here. They're March 2026 calls. 200. I would definitely say, you know, breaking 200 is going to be a pretty big milestone. I think you know, if they have earnings numbers that really break and make a, you know, make it show that they're still on that upward trajectory. They're going to continue growing. They're going to continue expanding, and money is still flowing into their company. Yeah, we could see it break 200, but I think there's a natural resistance at that number at this point. Not only psychologically, but just, you know, the around 200 number. I definitely think we're going to see some sellers at that level. Let's share this with you guys. We also have WaveX coming in today. So WaveX, definitely earlier today, started to see, we've seen some back and forth in terms of the calls and the puts throughout the day. But as of right now, we're definitely seeing much more call premium than put premium when it comes down to NVIDIA. Price hasn't quite moved in that direction so far, but again, if you take a look at, like, for example, this spike, 118 million calls to 10 million puts, and that's, you know, that's the aggregate premium. So we're taking the buys, taking away the sells, and making sure that we have an accurate view as to what direction that big money is betting on. So we'll keep a little peek up here if anything comes in. But yeah, we're just, right now it's a waiting game. Again, if you guys are in on NVIDIA, you could also let me know, are there any other positions you've been looking at? I know, for example, Max has been talking about how quantum computing is kind of the proxy. There's you know, possibly money to be made on that side of it as well. So if you see IonQ, was it QBTS, the quantum computing companies, those, if NVIDIA has announcements about them, you'll probably see some money being poured into those after this earnings call as well. Looks like we got Chemo in the chat too right now, guys. You guys following him? Dude just bought a McLaren. I saw an orange one. We're getting baller out there. And it also shows you guys, I mean, we're not out here paper trading. These are real accounts we're using, trying to help you guys make some money, trying to help you guys achieve whatever it is that you're looking for. I mean, if some of you guys want to gamble, but I know a lot of us are looking for the financial freedom that comes with, you know, with trading, with having this type of access and this type of knowledge. It opens up a lot of different opportunities and avenues for us. You know, for example, I mean, it's Wednesday at noon. I'm at home with the baby. My wife's out taking care of her mother and doctor's appointments. But, you know, being able to stay at home with the newborn has been a blessing. We live in a generation where we can do so much just from our phones and just from our computers. You know, it's worth taking that time to learn and taking that time to access that type of opportunity. Man, this chat and this YouTube, you guys gotta liven it up. What are you guys looking at? Are you guys all just here for NVIDIA? You guys just here to watch my reactions to what happens with the price? I'm gonna be mad if it just stays flat though. I'm not gonna lie. I'm expecting a move up in either direction. IV's pretty high at this point. Let me find a weekly for you guys. If you guys want that weekly gamble, what would the weekly gamble be? Yeah, so one thing here, IV, implied volatility, you look at for this Friday, it's all at 100%. So these all very likely could double by tomorrow, but they also very likely could go to 0. Now there's a lot of people aiming for 200 on the upper end of it. 80 cents per contract, but again, that needs a, let's look at this here, 10% move from where we're at. Yeah, 10% move from where we're at. On the put side, that open interest and volume, I think the level that people are aiming for here really looks like 170. There's a little bit of 175. 170 looks to have the most open interest and volume at this point for this week. Max will be joining us in just a moment. Man, I'm hoping we get what? Hoping we get 20 plus people just watching this today. Another quick thing to consider here too, guys. Our flow scanner for the week so far, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 65 million calls to 39 million puts. SPY and IWM look a little bit bearish, but that's, we're near all-time highs. There's a lot of hedging going on when it comes down to that. PDD still fairly bullish on this one. They did have their earnings earlier this week. FXI. Yeah, these ones were interesting. J&J saw a lot of in the money premium come in. So Johnson & Johnson. But there's no puts, so could definitely see that headed up. ETHA, we've had this play from before for a little bit now. Looks like more money's pouring back into it. There's barely any puts being taken at this point. KWeb as well. So KWeb, FXI. We do have Alibaba earnings coming up very soon too. Alibaba's slightly bullish as well. You guys still holding your BA calls? Yeah. They're still in Boeing. Definitely still in Boeing. The move hasn't happened yet. It could definitely show a sign of strength to the upside in due time. So I'm still in my Unity position. That one popped a little bit today. It's kind of chopping around right now. Ooh, this one's interesting. Let's look at this real quick. CrowdStrike. Somebody's betting that CrowdStrike's gonna drop after this earnings. Some puts for May of next year, the 420 puts, $2.5 million being spent. Each contract's $5,000 at this point. Dan, there is nothing wrong with taking those profits and letting the rest run. If you took off 2/3 of those, you're in a free trade when you consider that. There's nothing wrong with that. So I want you at this point, we have no idea what, especially with options. Options are not only a play on the price, but also a play on the time frame. So depending on the time frame that you have, if price doesn't continue to move in your favor, you very likely could see that 50% end up dropping. And again, it's never good and it's never fun to see a green trade end up turning sour. So yeah, I would definitely say if you're up 50% and those are profits that you're okay with at this point, you're happy with it. If is it good enough to screenshot and show someone? If so, take that off the table. And again, it leaves less risk on the table, because right now your risk isn't just what you purchase those options at, it's also that 50% that you've gained so far. So CrowdStrike, I definitely would say, guys, there's a possibility that we could see it drop. We'll see what happens at close. Oh, there's Max. What's up, buddy?
What's up?
It's doing it again. I'm hearing a double, but I know for the guys on our stream, it should be fine. It's fine. I'll deal with your double voice.
How's it coming through on double? That's weird.
I think it has to do with the way my OBS is set up. It's coming in through the Zoom, and it's probably coming in through the, I don't know,
audio capture.
Yeah. But what's being recorded for YouTube is only one. What's up, Stone? Good to have you here from TraderLink. We're excited to help all the TraderLink people also gain, insights into the markets, how we trade here at Stacks. We're excited to have those TraderLink tools merged with what we do as well. So Your question, what are you looking at in terms of meaningful flow to take position? How are you picking your contracts? Well, the things that we've done with our Stacks interface is we've made it as intuitive and as easy to read as possible. So first off, there are the signals in here. They're pretty simple. We've got a money bag and whenever they're spending large sums of premium. We have three different metals. We've got the gold metal, the silver metal, and the bronze metal. You won't see too much of the silver because that one is considered at the money. But you'll see gold and bronze. Gold means in the money, bronze means out of the money. And then you also have the time. So if you have short term you see this hourglass that's about to run out. Long term, you see the clock. Also, extreme short term, you'll see the 0 days to expiration. So the idea here is what we're trying to gauge is we're trying to gauge the aggressiveness in terms of the sentiment of their position. Okay, the aggression and urgency are two things that you always want to consider when it comes down to options trading, because the inherent nature of options is that if you are aiming for a certain expiration date and a strike, if you don't hit those by that time frame, your option is basically going down to zero. Okay, even if you miss it by a cent. So for example, this NVDA call for March 20th of 2026, if NVIDIA is not trading at $200, if it's trading at $199.99, this call is as good as $0. And here they spent $414,000 on that. Okay, so what we're looking for, I'll use a couple of examples here. The one that right now we're in and the one that I like right now is American Airlines. We have a couple of color codes that are put in here for us that make it easy to tell. Whenever they spend over $1 million and are considered big money, you can filter for it with the big money filter, but also you'll see the gold background on it. So these stick out to us. The other thing is the fact that I don't think there's any, oh, there are a few. Let's show you. The unusual options filter shows when they expect a very large move, and without our algorithm, it sticks out as something that is unusual enough where it's fairly unlikely, but for some reason they're spending a fair amount of money on that situation. So for example, we search American Airlines in the flow. Last couple days we noticed here on the 25th, here on the 26th, and today the 27th, we saw American Airlines and they're buying calls in particular for November and the $14 strike. So they're spending a lot of premium, and it went from an open interest of 7,000 to today 81,000, and they just purchased another 17,000 contracts here. Now you can say, okay, well, Eric, I've noticed some of this red in here as well. Well, you have to understand these are selling of those contracts. So whether or not they're selling covered calls or they're getting out of a position, I personally like to filter for the buys, because the buys show the current sentiment, what they're aiming for at this point. So for example, in this situation, the idea here is that American Airlines very likely, and we'll come back to this in a month or two after things have happened to see, but there's a good possibility that we're going to hear some sort of news about American Airlines in the next I kind of doubt 3 months. I don't think they're purchasing for November, expecting it to be like November 20th to hear that news. Because again, this isn't gonna be as profitable if it waits till that point. But this is a solid position to be taking, especially because we see all of that flow all grouped together on that call side of things here. If you're in our Discord, if you're following Max does a great job of calling some of these things out as they come in. So I would always keep an eye on his channel, TG Trades. Trader Link also has that channel as well. And he's always trying to share the unusual flow that's coming in. And it's up to you if you want to take those positions. We can't take the risk for you. What we're going to always do here is we're going to outline what the pros, what the cons are, what the risks look like. And then in addition, if you're able to, you always want to pull up the charts to see, are we expecting a breakout? Are we, do some of our indicators show a reversal? Things like that that will help us get into a profitable and a high quality type of trade. Now, another thing that's also brought stacks into into the spotlight is our stacks AI prints. Okay, so I do a back testing on this every single month. We have about 2 years of data at this point when it comes down to all the prints that have come in over the course of the last 2 years. And every single month I go in and I manually check to see what the prices have done. If they gone up, have they gone down? And overall, right now, as of the 2 years, we have about a 91% win rate with over 240% average returns when it comes down to these. One of the ones I could use as a recent example is this AEHR. Came in on the 22nd. They're purchasing for 2027, and they spent 2.3 million. So our Stacks AI, has picked this out as not only unusual, but something that somebody probably has knowledge about behind the scenes. And we don't sit at that table. You can imagine that. Okay. So if I go ahead and I pull up AEHR on my chart here for you guys. Let me resize this for you. Remember, they purchased on the 22nd, right? So that's back over here. 22nd. What happened basically the next day, or 22nd was Friday. What happened on Monday? We saw this go up 40% in terms of the equity. If you consider to the highs, 52% over the course of the weekend and Monday. All right. So, or technically this was on Tuesday. So let's say 4 days. If you just purchase AEHR in terms of the equity, you're up 50%. Imagine what that contract itself did. I'll actually pull that up. I didn't even check at this point. Let's see. AEHR. They purchased for 2027. What was the contract? AEHR 22.5. They got at $5.80. Okay. 22.50. Let's just do calls only. 22.50. So $5 something. Those are trading at over $10 at this point. Okay. The AI calls that I'm showing you guys here is on Stacks. If you're in our Discords, a lot of people are generally shouting these out. All it is this checkbox on the top left, right? The AI calls, these are all the prints over the course of the last 2 years. If they're still active, they'll still be on here, meaning that if we haven't gone past expiration, we've had over 400 of these calls come in, and 400 of these prints, let's put it that way. They're not all calls. From time to time, we're going to see puts, but in general, and most commonly, I would say about 95% is going to be bullish and playing the upside at this point. But for example, AEHR right here, they purchased the expiration date, the strike, the premiums, and as well additional information on the right side. But again, there are a lot of people, and we also have a couple people testing it out with their accounts where they're following these blindly. One of our guys, Dylan, DM2 Trades, in particular, took a $10,000 account, and he sets a blind take profit at 40%. So at 40%, he'll get into these positions and then he'll set a sell at 40% profit. His account is already up 60%, and it's been, I think, 3 months. Okay, so there's a lot of people that have trust in Stacks AI. I would suggest that you make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then go double check our playlists and double check our videos that we have. There's a Stacks AI backtesting playlist that I've put together where every month I add to it, and you guys can go ahead and check out exactly what's going on with it. You can watch all 24 of my backtesting, but at least check the most recent one and I review everything that's happened in terms of, price, what the highs were, where prices, what our hit rate and return rate happen to be. There's a lot of information that's put out there for you guys. And again, you can always look back on previous months. We're fully transparent about how we do these things. And another thing as well is, over the course of the last few months, we've actually raised our threshold in terms of what we consider a win. So if it doesn't get at least 15% return, they're no longer being considered wins on our platform, because we know a lot of you guys are aiming for higher returns. And we've had a couple of, not just a couple, a good handful of 1,000% and more in terms of returns on some of these callouts. But I will also make sure that you guys understand, one of the big dangers that comes down to using Stacks AI is straight up just greed. While there are quite a few of them that do go very, very high, you have to make sure that you are careful with your profits, because there are times where we'll see big spikes, we'll see a lot of big returns, and if you don't necessarily get out at those points, they are going to be counted as wins in our software and in our backtesting. But it's up to you to make sure that you get out at those numbers or at those profits, because there's never a guarantee that it's going to continue to go up. What we suggest is that if you do leave runners, that those are the ones that you aim for those really big high returns. But yeah, there's an Alibaba call from earlier this year that was a 3,000, almost 3,000% return, almost 4,000% return. Again, Stacks AI is a very powerful tool if you know how to use it and you know how to make sure that you manage your risk alongside with it. But let's go back to what you guys are all here for. You guys are all here to see what's going on with NVIDIA. We do have a couple more buys that came in. Flow still showing more bullish than bearish. I already made my call out, so for some of you guys that are joining us a little bit later, under my our degenerates channel in our Discord, this is basically set up for if you guys are looking for earnings gambles. My picks would be for next Friday, 9/5, 200 calls or 160 puts. I'm not going to call out a specific direction at this point. Your guess is as good as mine. I would probably lean a little bit more bullish, but on the cautious side of it, just because the expectations are so high. In addition, if you go under my channel, if you go under the main chat, there's an earnings case studies as well, where we have our full write-up for NVIDIA. I will always include my charts, what I see in the flow, things like that. Something that was interesting that I noticed was, you filter for the puts and filter for the premium. The biggest premium for puts was May of next year, $22 million spent right there. If you filter for the calls and look for that, the highest premium was $71 million for NVIDIA, aiming for December of next year. So overall long term, I don't see anything taking NVIDIA's spot when it comes down to their positioning in the AI space and with the chip space. But we could still see a double beat for earnings today and actually still see price sell off. That's a possibility. So, earnings are, generally are always going to be a gamble. Just be sure that if you do get yourself into those positions, that you understand there is a possibility you could wake up tomorrow and they could be down 99%. So, that's where you gotta size for that and be careful with those positions. I got you, buddy. Yeah, I've had this baby asleep on my lap the whole time with a bottle in his mouth. Yeah, you good now? You might fall asleep again. So, you got any input, Max? Anything you want to share? I'll put stats.
Yeah, basically, the expectation with NVIDIA is they have a $8 billion hit that they're taking from these China tariffs. Now, the sad reality of NVIDIA is $8 billion for them would be like a bad Tuesday in the markets. So it's not a concerning amount. It's more because, yeah, expectations are sky high. Are they probably going to beat them? Most likely. They just released a new robotics chip that was running its demo robot at the end of its GTC event. So it's really going to come down to the Trump chip ban in China, um, unbans them in July, slaps a 15% protection fee in August. And the big question is, will China start to view NVIDIA as a like spyware type thing? So will they become less trusting in that software where, yeah, they will still buy them, but one thing to keep in mind is China is responsible for about 53% of the chip buying supply across all manufacturers, by the way. So that's not just NVIDIA, that's Intel and everybody else who are making AI chips right now. China buys about 53% of their supply. I know for AMD, they're about 19% of their annual recurring revenue. So really, that's what it's going to come down to. One thing to keep in mind, data center revenue is going to be a big key for them. It's something I think people always overlook. We're looking at 41 billion versus 26 billion last year. So we're looking at a substantial jump there. For microchips, the GB200 is starting to ramp up. That's the chip that is the predecessor to Blackwell that AMD and everyone else is currently trying to catch up to. It's basically Blackwell Ultra. Wall Street's drooling harder than gamers outside of a Micro Center launch, basically, because they're interested to see what that order is going to look like. Because anytime they have released a new Blackwell product, it's done pretty well for the most part. But yeah, the main things with them, guidance. Are they going to lowball Q3 because of China drama, or are they going to still be able to give those lofty expectations like they do every quarter? China commentary, does that $8 billion hit look like a one-off or the start of a trend that we could see continue on quarter over quarter with them? And then that chip ramp, obviously. GB200 shipments and Blackwell Ultra updates will make or break the AI hype cycle as well. So that'll kind of tell you, are we starting to hit our peak here because NVIDIA is not really releasing innovation quarter over quarter, or what's going on? So that's really what's going on with NVIDIA. I think the big question mark for them is that $8 billion hit they took, and how are they, one, going to absorb that, or how much of an impact is that really going to have when it comes to their guidance and their outlook? I also put out a full podcast episode recapping this as well. It's about like 5 minutes, and I just run down basically like what exactly happened with the $8 billion hit, Trump's timeline of how he's basically been playing tug of war with these guys. So there's that out there as well.
Yeah, again, if you guys are not following Max, there's plenty of ways to get the information that he's sharing. His Substack link is down below in the description box. There is a free version that you guys can get things either emailed to you, or it can be pushed to your phone if you have the Substack app. He also has a YouTube, which again has, he'll be posting a lot of his analysis. It's always shared in our Discord, so that way you don't miss it. But I will say Max does so much that the one downside to it is he's got so much information that sometimes it's hard to know exactly what you're looking for in his channel. We've been trying to set up some threads so it's a little bit easier to filter through and find out what it is, because he'll make a call out, then he'll post some information and an article and then a video and things like that. He's sharing so much with you guys that I understand it might be a little bit overwhelming for new users, but again, you do not want to miss out on his calls. There's a lot of call outs that he's had that have been huge bangers, where he's getting 200, 300%, sometimes the runners are hidden even higher. One of the most common conversations that Max and I have is the fact that we got out a little bit too early at about a 200-300% return, and it ran to over 400 to 500%. But again, I think it's a good problem to have when it comes down to options trading. One of the ones as well is we were in wolf calls for our 1K challenge, and we got out with over 100% return, and it ran to 500%. So we could have taken our 1K portfolio. We're at about like 50. We were at about 50% return. It's dropped a little bit, but if we had held all the way to where those highs were, we would have tripled our account in the course of, I think, 2 to 3 months. So again, those were all call outs that we use stacks for. We're trying to show you guys, again, if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask us in the chat box so we can help you guys out. There is also a closing bell 20. If you want the stacks membership, you guys can go ahead and sign up. investorcentralclub.com/memberships. You guys can sign up for that. A little peek into it as well. I know there are a lot of people that have been asking me in the Discord, what's the difference between stacks and the ICC Discord? Well, the thing about stacks is this entire software that you see in here. WaveX down here is going to be released on Monday, but there's a flow scanner. There are options. There are equity blocks as well that will show you what's being bought, what's being sold. We also have politician tracker and insider trades, so you can actually see, for example, this politician sold some of NVIDIA, but this was back in February. It shows you when they purchased and sold. Man, he just reported that he sold in February. Insider trades, what the insiders at the company are doing. Jensen Huang's been selling off like crazy, but I'm expecting it's just because he wants to buy another yacht or something like that. Not necessarily because he doesn't have confidence in his company. So that's stacks. In terms of the Discord, though, you can also understand. Let me just show you guys. I'm going to scoot us over to the side. There is a integrated app within Stacks where you do have access to mostly the core channels. So you can see where there's always conversation going on in here. You can get our earnings. You can get Max's channel in terms of all the write-ups that he's done and all the analysis he has, some of his call-outs as well. You can get my channel in here too, where you can see what I'm looking at, some of the charts, some screenshots of what's going on in stacks that I want our users to take a look at. Now, what's the difference between that and the Discord? Well, the Discord itself has a lot more in terms of channels. The Discord was what we originally started with. The Discord is something that's been going on since 2020. And is a place where you have all of our ICC traders. You have Chemo in here, which is our CEO, the guy that just bought a McLaren, and additional things like education, equity positions. We have some options training and education. So it's meant to be a place for people to not just learn, but also a community that we're all here to help bounce ideas off of as well. But again, so anything that is stacks related is all in the stacks app and software, and that way, again, there is overlap when it comes down to it, but the ease of having the Discord definitely does help, because right now with our integration with our app, the Discord app inside stacks, you're not necessarily allowed to sign into your own personal Discord account. It's more so meant for people to, to have access to the conversation. But down the line, we are working on expanding the capabilities and things like that. But again, right now we're focused on the acquisition we just made of TraderLink, and getting you guys those additional tools in stacks to use. So understand, if you are signing up for the Discord, it is through Upgrade Chat. It is also on the membership page. There's a Discord sign up, and then there's a Stacks sign up. So just be aware that they're two separate services that we offer. And originally, when we first released Stacks, we did not have the the Discord integration, but we felt it, felt kind of lonely inside the app if you didn't have access to the community, and so that's why we added it as a bonus for you guys, so that you guys can see what the conversations are and be a part of that. Baby boy's up and awake now.
Spy Touch 647.
I mean, there's so much writing on these earnings. I mean, if I'm looking at this in the big picture, big money is not necessarily going to let it crash. Big money doesn't want it to crash.
That I was gonna say. So like, here's the thing: is one, there's too much writing on this. Like, there's just too much. Like, I think right now we peaked at like 118 million in call volume by mid-afternoon today, on WaveX. So there's just too much is going to crater. It would essentially be like the US economy failing. That could never happen because our economy supports like a quarter of the world's other GDPs that are out there right now. So like, we literally can't fail because the rest of the world would. That's how NVIDIA pretty much is on the stock market right now. Like, if NVIDIA fails, guess what? So is Microsoft, Apple, Meta, Tesla, S&P 500, QQQ, the NASDAQ. Like, there's so much that's going to crater and that's going to wipe out. So it's going to make those days where it's like, oh, $30 billion was wiped out in 2 hours. It's going to make that look like a fart in the wind. Like, it's not even going to be, you won't even, this will be if it does not go through, I can guarantee you someone tomorrow on Twitter will announce how they made life-changing money and are just done trading. Because that's the kind of reaction I would expect if this NVIDIA earnings flops at this point.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the way that it's continued to run up every single earnings is mind-blowing. But it's also the thing where it's like, if you just didn't bet against them at this point, you're in a very good spot. But some of the numbers and some of the hype, there's a lot of this talk about how we're in this AI bubble and how it mirrors things with the .com bubble and the crash is coming and things like that. But there's also, if you listen to the people that are arguing for AI, it's not the same again, right? At the end of the day, there's a lot, while some of the charts have their parallels, this entire run up it's not based on companies that don't make money and have no value, right? The .com bubble was a lot of that. There was a lot of fluff out there. There were a lot of companies that were being valued without even making a single cent. But in this situation, a lot of the money is all within companies that are making a lot of money. It's all within the top companies in our markets. You have NVIDIA, you got Meta, you got Microsoft, Apple even. And so money flowing there doesn't necessarily constitute, I mean, it still does look like a bubble, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's necessarily that same risk that people are putting it out to be in terms of something like the .com situation. And there is speculation too that we're just getting started here, that this is still just the beginning of the whole process.
I mean, I get the bubble discussion that people are having, but I think because I agree with you, it's like shocking to see NVIDIA literally just like run up quarter after quarter after quarter. But then when you kind of dig into their conference calls or you dig into like what happened before earnings, it's not shocking because Wang has always had a like, oh, you think we topped out with GPUs? Well, look, now we're releasing robot brains that are completely programmable at a very fair entry price point. So there's just a lot, like, once people think he's kind of peaked out, he's like, okay, well, now the reason we did all this is so we can now move into this. So I think like personally, I think one of the big things he'll highlight is robotics and their shift into that. I wouldn't be shocked if they make some kind of announcement with Tesla or somebody or some kind of small robotics firm that will moon. And then the other thing will be quantum computing as well. So I expect IonQ, QBTS, all these companies to benefit from a positive earnings report. And by the way, guys, if you want a cheaper, little less risky option, you can always go for Dell, because Dell runs parallel with NVIDIA. So if NVIDIA runs after this earnings pop, Dell will run with it, and then guess what? Dell reports on Thursday. So then you get a whole other opportunity to play NVIDIA earnings again at a much lower. Well, the contracts will be juiced to the tits if NVIDIA beats, but that's another opportunity for you to play. So I always like to play the sympathy plays on NVIDIA earnings, just because it's usually a lower price point, less risk, basic things. But yeah, I'm shocked, but I'm not, because this isn't a bubble. It's a bubble that can continue to expand, because we're not even like at the point of true AI yet. We're just at like a bubble of LLM models being published and released and being fed to us as AI systems that are the future.
No. 100% agreed.
So it'll be interesting to see what he pulls out. But I think robotics and quantum will be his two big talking points in that conference call today. And then obviously data center, because that's the majority of their revenue. But in terms of things to get the investors excited, Because that's what at the end of the day, the man's a showman. You don't go out and wear leather jackets as a tech company CEO unless you're trying to get people excited about something.
All right, I got a diaper to go change. I will be right back. You take over for now, Max.
All right, sounds like a plan. So, what do you guys want to talk about? No, I'm just kidding. So I don't know. I think NVIDIA, that should be a pretty easy beat. We also have, who else is reporting after the bell today? We got Snowflake reporting after. I did a write-up on them. I can pull that up real quick. There we go. So with Snowflake, we are expecting, and we got 18 minutes till NVIDIA, consensus 1.09 billion in revenue, which is a 25% gain year over year. 26 cents on EPS, which is 44%. One thing to note about Snowflake, they've beat earnings they beat EPS 4 straight quarters, average of a 35% surprise. AI pivot, CEO Ramaswamy doubled down on AI Data Cloud, Cortex AI, and copilots for real-time analysis. And the catch is their valuation is crazy high. PS is at 12.9x versus others in the space who traded at about a 5.7x. And the competition is brutal. They're competing against AWS, Azure, and others that are just like breathing right down their neck. So everyone sees AI plus data equals cloud growth story. The real trade is going to be in rotation. If Snow beats, expensive growth is going to get oxygen, but if it whiffs, money flows to cheaper beta plays. Think about like Oracle or other small cap cloud companies. That's where you're going to see people start to rotate into it. However, Snowflake does have the narrative playing in their favor right now. They also have the partners, and they also have the AI pivot, which are all pivotal things that you need to have to be a industry / like thought leader in a space, right? So this report is a make or break moment for them. Sometimes the market treats data is the new oil like a gospel, but oil drills are cheap compared to Snowflake's current multiple that it's trading at.
Alejandro, you said you found the stream via Yahoo Finance. Could you do me a favor and post that link for me? I
Oh no, it's because I'm a writer for Yahoo Finance and I posted us in there.
Okay, cool. I love it.
What's up, Alejandro? How are you doing?
We do this for all other companies during earnings season, at least the big ones. We had quite a few live streams over the course of the last few weeks, especially the big weeks where we had Mag 7 reporting and just basically the bulk of earnings season. Obviously, there's sometimes some small names, things that people don't really necessarily care about, but we definitely want to show you guys what we see in terms of our flow on stacks, talk about what the charts say, talk about what the analysis has to has to show, the numbers and our expectations. And I will say, more often than not, Max and I are pretty on point when it comes down to things. We're always going to give you a bull and a bear case when it comes down to it. One of the things I want to talk about here with Snow is we did see this unusual selling of calls, 222 and a half for only $284,000, but that could kind of put a little bit of a ceiling on it, that they're not expecting it to go past that $220 range by Friday. We see some calls for some 215s for Friday, 855,000. That's quite a bit of money. 6% move to the upside. The other one as well is CrowdStrike, CRWD. We saw these puts come in earlier today for May for under $420, $2.53 million. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. $2.53 million spent on it. The only thing that is rough about this one is they spent $5,000 on each of those contracts. So you can definitely bet that I'm not looking at getting into that position. But does that lean bearish for CrowdStrike? Because again, we do have a little bit of activity earlier this week, but it's not so significant. A lot of times when we see, we've had a lot of these ones where right before earnings, we see a flood of calls or a flood of puts coming in, or very unusual positions far out the money. And a lot of times with those ones, one of the theses that we have, Max and I, is just this guy's not trying to lose $2.5 million on this position. So whether they have some sort of information about what's about to happen, etc., those are things that you kind of want to keep an eye out for. Now, I will also point out too, there are times where I'll tell you this, the directional bet that they took should have been right. So for example, one that really brings to my attention was there was a Pinterest earnings where they bought extremely short-term expiration. It was a Stacks AI call out. We saw the contract jump a little bit. It was calls, and it was like basically a 0 days to expiration position. They spent millions of dollars on it, and the stock actually tanked, and then they announced that they were integrating with Google, which was, I think, what I believe was the reason that they got into that position. But it wasn't enough to counteract the drop that came from that earnings. So again, ultimately what Stacks is going to do is it's going to shift that probability to your side, if anything. Definitely a lot of times you see big money spending big premiums on knowledge that they happen to have that's not out to the public just yet. As much as we don't, insider trading should be illegal, it's supposed to be illegal. At the end of the day, we all know it happens. We all see it happen. We see our politicians trading too, and insiders getting in and out before the news has hit. So
by the way, some fun facts about CrowdStrike. They have had 9 straight beats with strong annual reoccurring revenue momentum behind them. Their red flag is guidance is slowed. PS is at 21.9x versus the average of 13.7 of their peers. And the options market is pricing in an 8.5% swing in either direction. So a big move is expected, which maybe explains why a lot of these premiums are juiced with these guys. And they need a beat plus guidance lift in order to have that positive 8% move. If they have a miss or flat guidance, um, expect rotations into PANW, FTNT. Um, this is going to be a show me quarter for crowd. Either they prove the Falcon still soars, or valuation gravity is going to pull it back down to earth very quickly. Its long-term total addressable market, though, is a massive $116 billion, which is crazy. But near term, it's priced like perfection. This earnings report will tell us if crowd is a growth machine worth the premium or just another high flyer stalling in thinner air. And this goes back to the theme that me and Eric have been preaching over this earnings cycle, or this season, the kickoff of this season at least. And that is, people are done just you saying AI and then investors getting excited and throwing stuff. Um, you gotta start showing people some stuff. You gotta show people, what are you doing with all this money they're pumping in and their investment? What is there anything that's going to come from that? PLTR is a perfect example of people realizing we don't know what this company does at the end, other than getting government contracts. No one can give me a product that I can look at and go, oh, so that's what they do. So the AI hype cycle is done. Now it's a lot of these companies. The theme of the day will be show me the money, as they said in Jerry Maguire. We are Tom Cruise asking to, or no, Cuba Gooding Jr.
Both of them were shouting it.
We're shouting it, yeah. So we are shouting show me the money at every earnings call now, because just saying AI is no longer it just doesn't work anymore. The magic has worn off. The fairy dust is gone. The slipper no longer fits. So it's time for people to start producing results. And quite frankly, I felt like I've written the same earnings preview for every tech company this week, except different names and different expectations, but all of them are in this show me state. It's okay, they have all this stuff, they have all this money, they're making all these improvements, growth is slowing, but what are they doing? Like, show me what you're doing. Show me what your product does. So it's very interesting to see how investors are reacting, and how, quite frankly, not a lot of people are realizing that that's what this bubble's being made out of. It's not being made out of because there's no need for AI. The bubble is the hype cycle. It's a hype bubble.
Yeah, also, I mean, I will say the CrowdStrike channel that it's bouncing around in does look like it's starting to break out of it a little tiny bit. There could be some upside in that direction, but ultimately, I would say we might see a break out of it with this earnings, but with what Stacks is saying, we might see it sell off from there. It's definitely looking like it's peaking out of that range. So
Yeah,
but
it'll be interesting to see.
I know everybody's just here for NVIDIA. This is my chart for NVIDIA. This is what I expect to happen. Either we're going to see this retest of the highs at 184 and we'll see a breakout above that. I don't think 200 is completely unreasonable, but it is, again, you got to have a lot of money still continue to flowing into this. So if they're able to raise guidance and continue to show, again, you got to appreciate the numbers that they're putting. Their net margin, I think, is like 50% at this point. So they make a lot of money. They're making a lot of money off of their chips. There still is a lot of demand. It's basically bounced off of this lower range of it. We could see some continued upside into another sign of strength. If they have anything just in line or a slight miss, we're going to either see it chop down back around to possibly back down to like 174 is what I would mark it at. And if it does have additional weakness, we could see it come back down toward 168. But again, if I were to give you probabilities, 65 or 70% chance to the upside and the rest to the downside. At least that's what I would say, just because, number one, You know, Jensen Huang is the LeBron or Jordan of the stock market at this point. You know, he's leading the charge.
And by the way, Eric, let's not forget that between August 18th and August 20th, we had around 105 million, of which two of those prints, the 31.5 million for the 185 calls due for September 19th, and then right after that, 22 million dumped into 190 calls due for September 19th as well. That came in on the 18th last week. So, guys, there is a lot of money being bet on the upside. If we just look at the flow scanner from those 2 weeks on NVIDIA alone, we're looking at, or from the last 9 calendar days, we're looking at 344.17 million in total flow that has gone into NVIDIA, with 250 million in calls. 250 million in calls in the last, how many trading days is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In the last 8 trading days. So that's an average of about 30 million a day. Going into calls.
Just that much.
Just a casual 30 mil.
Yeah. Well, we've got 5 minutes till close, and we're gonna start to see some spikes happen. But you know, if I just went and I filter for the buys, you do have some clusters of these puts being bought, but nothing that stands out like, oh, it's so unusual or it's so much money that they're spending. If you go filter for the buys, there is this cluster as well. You know, $8 million spent on puts from earlier today in the morning. But if you look at overall, 2.87 billion calls to 1.5 billion puts. That's just the overall premiums that have been spent in terms of our lifetime of stacks and what's going on with NVIDIA. So unusual stuff from earlier in the year. But again, a lot of these are probably already looking pretty nice in terms of, you know, it's moved from in April when we had the tariffs announced till now. NVIDIA's up like 100%. So, you know,
Yep.
just a matter of a few months.
Dang, we got 20 people in here. 181.66 is where we're at. I remember, like, after the first year after GTC, someone rented out a bar in, like, New York and had an earnings watch party. Like a draft watch party for the NBA. They had a NVIDIA post-earnings watch party.
Yeah. Well, I'll have this chart up. I'll have, you know, let's liven up this conversation. Tell me, you guys, are you bullish or bearish on NVIDIA? And also, I always have to ask you guys to hit that like button for us so we can play this YouTube algorithm a little bit too.
Dang, too bad we can't do like a live poll on YouTube. Or can you?
Yeah, I can. Here.
I would put a poll up.
There we go. There's a pull up. Tell me, what are you, bullish or bearish when it comes down to it? We got a bullish. It's just 100% bullish right now. It's gonna stay bullish. Just what? Oh, we got 3 to 1.
We got a bear in the chat. I'm going bullish.
I'm gonna end it at 1. So. Hey, buddy, you do not want cords in your mouth. How about you, Theo? You bullish or bearish? Bullish or bearish? You looking up? That's a bullish sign. A bullish sign.
I would say if you're looking for where good price targets would be is look where big money are selling calls. Where big money is selling calls, that is where a lot of them will intend to take profit. So you can look at that as a resistance zone almost. But then if you see more calls being bought in as well, you could also see some continuation at that point.
All right, we got 8 votes. We're almost time for NVDA earnings. Got 15 seconds left. Give me your vote. Bullish or bearish?
So far I put one up on Twitter. We got 17 votes, and I got 64% bull, 35% bear.
I agree with that. Yep.
60-30. I'll take 65-35 in the casino any day. That's like blackjack odds right there.
All
Or
right.
not blackjack. All right, here we go.
Let's see what happens. We are officially market closed. Generally, it'll take about 15 minutes for this report to come out, but you can probably go on to Twitter and see. There's usually going to be one. I expect there to be 1 or 2 fake reports to come out.
Except this time the White House can't come out and say, we never said that. When they were like the 90-day tariff pause rumor, and they were like, no one ever said that here. Oh, 57-42 on Twitter.
Yeah, options pricing is about a 6% implied move.
All right, we went 75-25 on YouTube. Congrats to everyone who played. Good luck. Fun fact: if you pressed bullish, you got entered into a 185 call due for 829. So, if you that'd be kind of a cool feature to have on a stream. You could have like people like vote, and then it would automatically enter them into like a call sheet contract or something.
I'm just chopping around at this point.
Because everyone's just waiting for Jensen to come out.
We're
and
just
be like,
waiting for this. This candle is just gonna shoot off the screen in one direction. That's usually what's gonna happen at this point. Up or down? Up or down? Let's see.
Oh, clean 52-48 on Twitter.
That is straight up half and half.
I know, like 25 votes.
I will say there's a lot of bears right now for NVIDIA.
I did notice that, like a disgusting amount, by the way.
Compared to before, and here's the crazy part was, if you look at things like, yes, this is working again. PE ratios here is only at 57. It was like well over 100 something with previous earnings. So
Yeah,
what's
like,
basically happened is that they've made so much money that they've lowered that PE ratio, and their price still continues to go up. So like there was a point where the PE ratio was like, I think 160, and I was just like, this has got to go down at this point. Like, you know, it's run up so hard.
I mean, I think the craziest statistic for me is their net margin, because I think people forget they're a hardware company. Like, they're not like SaaS where they just have to rent cloud. No, they're building actual products with materials. Like, that is so expensive. Like, that's insanely expensive to support. And then the fact that you essentially have because most of those places are happy if they can get like a 70-30. Or like a 40-60, or like something that like they're barely squeaking margins out. So the fact that they have damn near 50-50, that is, so they can just focus on revenue, is insane, because it's like, oh well, our material costs are covered.
Yep.
So we can build whatever we want and release whatever we want because we're already running at it. We're operating in the black for net margins right now, which is like unheard of in hardware. Not even Dell's doing that, and they sell god awful company computer. So
Just a waiting game at this point.
where's everybody from in the chat? If you're with us still on YouTube, go ahead, comment stacks and where you're from. Or if you want to put up your worst, your bad beat of the day or your big win of the day, go ahead, post all that kind of stuff. We want to see what you guys are working with, what you guys have been up to for the day. While we wait for the leather suit man to tell us the future of AI. Jensen Wang is just basically the Oracle. Oh, we got someone from the Balkans in here.
Nice.
Ooh, Atlanta representing. Los Angeles.
Yeah. SoCal. I'm in San Diego here.
I'm out of Detroit, Michigan, the Motor City, baby. All right, we're seeing some positive movement on NVIDIA, on
It's still
SPY.
early. It's still early.
Ooh,
You're just
SPY
gonna see a giant candle at 115.
SPY took a little bath. Microsoft. Ooh, Microsoft making that move. I think Microsoft could close at around 511 if NVIDIA reports positively. I feel so nervous. I don't know why.
Are you in any contracts?
Oh, I'm not even in it. Well, I took a Microsoft sympathy play. Bearish move incoming.
Well, if pre-earnings moves are any indicator, usually the first move is the wrong one at this point. So,
Yeah, it's a false.
but I mean, I wouldn't say any of this is exactly a move. It's just kind of, I just look at it as money's flowing in because people want to buy before this report hits.
Yeah.
There's just equity being bought. If we see a big spike in one direction and a giant wick, then that usually is the signal. But yeah, it's creeping up. It's creeping up.
Which either means they're about to drop everybody off a cliff or
Nope. Nothing. No, oh, a little bit more movement.
oh, here we go.
My thing here says that they report at 120, so not 115. So we got a little
Oh
bit more
my
time.
gosh. Of course they only NVIDIA. Everyone's like, no, but you report at 415. They go, we know. We know. We want to make these bulls and bears sweat a little longer before we. Yeah, I can see the bear thesis though. 195s is my golden spot for shorts. That's hilarious. C4. C4 with 195s is his short position. Here we go. It sucks we can't play music on YouTube because they'll ban you. Nothing yet. Seeing a little bit of a recovery on that Microsoft SPY recovering. So it looks like things might be getting ready to either like accumulate and take off here, or just hang at a standstill until NVIDIA touches 190 or 174. It's gonna be. Who wants to listen to non-DMCA music? You guys want to listen to some smooth jazz on 89.69.9. Investor smooth radio. Oh, this is taking forever. This will be the longest 10 minutes ever. Someone leak the report. Leak the numbers. We got a $50,000 bounty for anyone who can get the NVIDIA numbers leak. Just play some non-DMCA elevator tunes. Ooh, Dow and Nas are not liking it. Yeah, the NASDAQ is throwing a little temper tantrum. Throwing a little temper tantrum. They're like, it's our money and we want it now. They're taking the J.G. Wentworth approach.
We just saw a SPY drop. SPY just had a bit of a drop.
Ooh, yeah, 646. I mean, it's down. It's at flat line almost at this point, but 0.02%. It's teetering.
But NVIDIA's still doing decent.
Yeah.
It's still up after hours. It's gonna test, just gonna test today's high. Let's turn into a triple top right here.
Ooh, we got 60-40 split on our Twitter poll. Or wait, let me update it. Yeah, we're 60-40 right now on Twitter.
We got 22 people watching, guys. Go ahead and say hi. If you haven't been here before, or if you're one of our Stacks members or ICC or TraderLink, go ahead and comment. Let us know. Good to have you guys, though. It's one of those things where it's always nice to see the community that we've built here with Stacks and ICC.
All this stuff we're doing is for you. Without you guys, this would be pointless, kind of, and it would just be for our own amusement. So
yeah, without you guys, this is just me and Max having a meeting.
This is just a marketing meeting at this point, guys. So thank you for making these so much more enjoyable.
Also, do me a favor, guys. Hit that like button for me, just because that's just how YouTube is. It definitely helps if you guys are able to help us play that YouTube algorithm. While my baby boy here just fusses about NVIDIA earnings, like, Jensen, release the earnings already. Gosh. I want to know. We want to know. We want to know the earnings now. We want to know the earnings now. Tell us.
Half a percent on NVIDIA.
Oh yeah, let's put real quick. CRWV. CoreWeave. Let's see. Crowd Strike. Ooh, Crowd Strike drop. There we go. So that one was right. What else was it? Snow.
I think
Snow is up.
I was gonna
Snow's
say
up.
Snow's a
CrowdStrike down.
beat, dude.
Yep.
Snow had the narrative, they have the money, they have the partnerships. Like, for them to
Looks
fail, they would have really had to kick themselves in the teeth. And they raised their annual product revenue forecast.
looks
So
like Stacks was right. CrowdStrike to the downside. I think Snow. What was Snow's prediction? I think we had Snow a little bit more bullish.
what's up, Morris? What's up, Tudor, Ricky, Elcat? Oh, what up, Tendies? What up, my dude?
Good to have you guys here.
Go ahead and
Now,
throw this link in Trendsetters.
this is our, I think this is the most we've ever had watching our stream. 27 people watching right now. We're 100 minutes into our stream. Still waiting for them to release earnings. We got 5 minutes till they finally do so. But good to have you guys all here. Especially those, you know, the newcomers. We love our Stacks users. We love our trader link, and I know we're also in a couple of other discords with Invest IQ and you know, FU Money, all that. But good to have you guys. And again, tell us, what are you thinking about? Up or down for NVIDIA? Snow popped like crazy. Here, I'll pull up a second window on this for you guys too. Snowflake is up. Up. It is up 13% after hours for Snowflake.
Watch what RGTI does in response to this.
CrowdStrike is down 6%. RGTI looks like they're down right now. They're flat overall. They had a huge spike today. We're just still waiting on the video. We got 4 minutes till they report. It looks like Snowflake's that big winner right now. 13%.
I mean, we called that out though. They had all the mojo going for them. They had a hell of a strategy, Cotton, that paid off.
Man, I've been refreshing Twitter and still nothing. Just a bunch of people saying that they're waiting for earnings.
Here we go.
3 more minutes, guys. 3 more minutes. Gotta be patient with this.
Here we go. Here we go.
Watching the second hand on my freaking clock.
You're just like, come on, you're 45 seconds. I'm putting out like an urgent post on Twitter. I'm gonna be like, T-minus 2 minutes. Come on.
My child's still too young to make core memories, but this is the kind of thing.
I was about to say this.
Oh my god! Look at it! Look at.
Hey, it just bought back through that candle. We're back to 0.5% on NVIDIA.
We just waiting. One more minute. 45 seconds. I'll do a full countdown on this.
That's where you gotta have the timer ready where you can just like press it and it just counts down on the stream. Ooh.
What's this person saying in 6 minutes? They're not releasing at 25. They're releasing at 20.
Who said 6 minutes?
Yeah. I was looking at Twitter. Somebody said in 6
Oh,
minutes.
okay.
Come on.
And here we go. All right, here we go.
3, 2, 1. Waiting.
Oh
We're waiting.
God.
We're waiting.
This is the worst blue
waiting.
balling. Oh, here we go.
Twitter get it yet?
There's that first. Well, I'm about to.
Nope, that's still an estimate.
Okay, there we go.
Starting to see it creep up.
Here we go. 0.8.
LCAT, we'll talk about Bill after we see what happens here. Okay, revenue 44.1 billion, up 12% from Q4, up 69% from a year ago.
Oh.
Ooh, there we go.
Oh.
Ah, starting to sell off. Starting to sell off.
Bye-bye, SPY. Bye-bye.
$175.
Oh my God.
Well, hold on.
Yeah, no, I know. But that's exactly 174 was like our bottom.
Yeah, I've got that line drawn.
Bearish move incoming.
The entire markets are gonna go bearish now.
Oh
I'm
God.
gonna peek over at NQ. No, not necessarily. One sec, bud. 172.
Dang. Someone just got paid. You're about to have a whole lot of pissed off managers tomorrow.
Looks like it's getting bought up at this range here.
Yeah, I know. It just jumped 2 points. 3.
The other thing, though, it's only down 3.5% right now. Not 4%.
That's a 15-minute candle. See ya.
I will say, though, this earnings season, we've seen some crazy back and forth reversals, so.
Oh, yeah, app
Yeah.
was the most recent one we had.
Nothing set in stone until the morning. Nothing set in stone until the morning. My stream from my computer live to YouTube, there's usually about a 10 to 15 second delay. That's just how any streaming service is gonna work. We do got 30 people watching us now. I love it.
Dang, 4%. I mean, I think it's going to come down to the conference call, really.
Yeah.
and what he
I
has to
mean,
say on there. Because as soon as he comes out and goes, hey, China revenue kicked us in the balls, but here are the things we're going to do to mitigate that and make up for it, we could see a real quick flip on this and see it rocket, quite frankly. Because I think, Eric, I really don't think they let this thing flop and sell off.
yeah. And here's another thought I'm having is that if you're a fund manager and you just saw NVIDIA drop to this level, what are you doing? You're probably buying. You're not selling into it. You're
Well, yeah,
buying.
because
You're buying into that weakness, because at the end of the day, look at their numbers. Their numbers are up from what was expected. Like, I have a feeling this is going to get snatched up. Like, yeah, we could see it still push down to what, 160, 170, I think would be 160, 168 maybe.
yeah, that wouldn't be unrealistic.
Yeah.
Because everybody's upgraded it heading into this earnings, so very shocking response with upgrades, no real overbought sentiment given to it, so I don't see it staying down here very long if it does. But again, that conference call.
I mean, conference call overall, that is a bullish sign or a bullish event for NVIDIA at this point. Anytime that they've had a conference call.
$2.7%.
I think the evil thing would be to see it pop up and then come right back down and stay flat tomorrow.
I know. Like pop right back up to like 180 and then it just
Yeah.
like trades at 180 like nothing ever happened.
Yep.
Just to burn off everybody's premium real quick.
Like, if you're the market maker, that's the easiest way to make all your money. Bring it right back to where it was.
And don't let it go any higher.
That's like 500 bill right there for the market maker. Everything goes to zero. IVs were all at like 100%. I don't know. I feel like I didn't feel the excitement from this one like previous NVIDIA earnings. I don't know why.
Well, because they usually make a bunch of announcements prior to they come out with their numbers and then it's like, NVIDIA partners with this. They also release chips here and they're releasing a new chipset this. And then like it gives people something forward to look to on the conference call, but that didn't really happen here. They kind of made those announcements prematurely, in my opinion. Like I would have announced the robot brain like after we released our numbers and before the conference call.
I mean, look at this. It's already like sneaking its way back up a little bit.
I know it's only down 2%.
Yep.
Jesus.
See, creeping up.
Like TLC creeping. Might have just aged myself with that reference, but
Only
yeah, it's
down 1.8%. Then we
that
got a
first
conference
move,
call. right?
So would you say, Eric, that first move was that false move?
This could be it. I don't know. It's like, again, none of us are going to know where this is going to open up tomorrow, especially after this conference call. If I'm the market maker, I want it to head back right to flat. I want both sides to burn.
Yeah, that's true. But Jensen wants that money. He wants that money, all right? So he doesn't care about market makers. He cares about the fact that over half of his staff has a net worth of over $25 million right now, which is insane, by the way.
Yeah, I think they said 78% of them are millionaires.
Yeah, and over 50% of those have over 25 mil or something like that.
It was the first red candle since we saw that start recovering at 124. Actually, it recovered right after the first 2 minutes, really.
Yeah.
I have a feeling we're going to see this right. It's going to be between like 178 and 180 tomorrow when it opens.
Man, this thing really, but yeah, this was definitely a face plant of earnings for NVIDIA. Very disappointing. That's why it's always smart to play the run up.
Yeah, seriously, if you just played the run up on this last
From
few
Monday,
days, right?
or like from Friday, you would be sitting pretty right now.
Yeah, from Friday, that wick to today, 9% on the stock.
Mess around and make you the prom king.
I mean, look at that wick right now. I have a feeling that we're going to stay above. There's a good chance we stay above this little range right here.
Yeah, I don't think we go below like 177.
Like, I doubt Jensen's going to say something that flops it.
No. No, no, no. Jensen wouldn't do that. That's crazy. Crazy, crazy. But I feel like this is the story almost every earnings. Everyone has crazy expectations. It's gonna kill, it's gonna beat, and then this happens. Sells off, both sides get burnt, it recovers, and then the next week it runs to some insane level.
Yeah. Once all that pressure from options is gone, next week, market maker sets up their position. I mean, really, the winner in this entire case is just the market maker. They're making a ton off these options.
Yeah, that's true.
It's basically like a giant casino event where they got everybody to come to bet on black and red, and they went and they rolled the double zero.
And they were like, "Oh, it's green. Too bad. Sorry. We forgot to tell you you could bet on 0 too if you wanted, but we'll let you know about that tomorrow during our press conference." And you're like, "Great." That's why they always bring the news out that actually matters after everyone that's normal can't trade. And if you want an example of that, look at what happened with solar credits. You had everyone and their mom buying up Sunrun and FSLR, and then Sunrun sold off 22% within 10 minutes in after hours because they came out and they're like, "Oh yeah, solar credits. We're gonna start clawing those back in 2026 instead of 2028 because we're gonna actually end them in 2028 instead." So, sorry about that. which is insanity. Nope. What time is their conference call?
Usually it's like an hour or two later.
Dang, it's starting to go back. 176 down 3, almost back down 3%. What time is Jensen Wang speaking today? Probably, yeah, about an hour after this, so like probably 5:30.
Five Eastern, 2 Pacific. So it's pretty soon, actually. All right. Are we gonna wait and sit around until that, or?
I don't know. I mean, I don't really have anything to talk about.
Yeah, it's just sitting here silently till that happens.
Basically.
You guys tell me. You want me to leave the stream on? I'll leave the stream on. I'll just mute myself because baby keeps on fussing. But I can leave the chart up if you guys want it. I mean, as usual, guys, help us out here. Hit that like button. We're just here trying to share some news and share some information for you guys.
I'm here to sell you a course.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
60
Everywhere.
billion share buyback. Yeah, I mean, they've got the money to do that.
Usually buybacks are bullish though the next day, right?
Yeah. I mean, versus some companies out there keep doing share offerings and keep diluting themselves. Yeah. I mean, these big companies, especially during the last few years, have done a lot of buybacks. It's been boosting their share price. They have the money on hand, you know, sitting in cash and just buying back their shares to boost that price. K-Web, yes, I'm still in K-Web. It's down quite a bit today. I think it was down like 30 or 40% today. We are waiting for Alibaba earnings to be reported, I believe, Friday. We're also in American Airlines, AAL.
By the way, we had another golden sweep for that came in today. For
yeah, I saw that.
Calls, 1.4 mil.
And then Unity, I still think Unity should be popping up higher. It might have a little bit of a retracement right now, but I have calls for January of next year. So those ones I think I already averaged up, and I'm at about 100% return on them at this point. Well, there's what, 23 minutes till they do their earnings call.
Ooh,
that was the first move that I've seen.
Ouch.
But I mean, it's got to break down below 173.82, and then this retest down here at 172. Like, keep in mind too, it's like, yeah, we just saw snow move over 10%, right? So Nvidia moving 3 or 4%. This is a nothing burger right here. Like, I honestly think it's just getting snatched up at this point. Big money's looking at it as, I can get a little discount on it. Price is still gonna go up higher.
Morris is in $43 calls for January.
I've already made some decent money off Unity from the course of the last few months. Made some good money off Unity so far. Definitely going through accumulation and definitely should be headed up higher in due time. My child, I know. NVIDIA dropped.
Maybe this will be a core memory. You'll be like, remember when I
Core
threw a
memory.
fit?
But it's
When
also like
NVIDIA dropped.
Nvidia didn't miss. That's the thing. They they
It's
beat
probably
pretty.
their probably revenue from one of their business lines of business probably came in under. Let's see here. Wow, yeah. Third quarter revenues above estimates. 3Q doesn't assume any H2O shipments to China, by the way. That's crazy.
Say that one more time.
So, Q3 revenue is above estimates, right? But Q3 outlook doesn't assume any H2O shipments to China.
Okay.
So they're not even, they came in above estimates without even having China on the table, which is clearly them saying like, hey, yeah, we took the $80 billion hit, but we're still going to come in above revenue. Automotive revenues up 69%. No H2O sales to China-based customers in the second quarter. Oh, wow. Data revenue is up 56%. Data center revenue came in at 41.1 billion. Gaming revenue came in at 4.3 billion, and that's up 49%.
But if you look at
What?
just initial numbers, I mean, they reported earnings EPS 1.05 versus the 101. So even though it's a 4-cent beat and technically about 3 to 4%, technically that's considered in line for something like this.
No, I mean,
Sales
I
beat,
agree.
sales beat as well. They only made what $720 million more than the estimate, but for a $46 billion revenue, that's minor.
Microsoft responded positively to this. Only down 0.06%, went flat on the news. Looks like those 170 puts are going to pay out pretty well. Oh God, we should have seen this. Jim Cramer. It was cursed. Jim Cramer posted a photo of him drinking Pepto-Bismol an hour ago. Wow, Jim, why'd you have to? Why couldn't you post after the conference call? You gotta ruin everybody's day. Just gotta ruin everybody's day.
Wonder how that inverse Kramer portfolio is doing. Didn't they come out with an ETF that's inverse Kramer too?
I think so. Yeah, China probably doesn't like tax rev share back to the US also. Yeah, that makes I don't that whole thing is just weird because he's just Donald Trump's like you can sell chips to China, but you got to pay 15%. Okay, now you can't. Okay, now you can. It's just like, dude, make your mind like they didn't quote any H2O sales to China. Like that's not their largest customer, but if it wasn't for Meta and Microsoft and all these companies spending like what 44 million a quarter or something like that, like on their tech. Oh my God. It'd be like two sisters kissing.
Now, big question is: does this turn into an H shape and head down, or does this turn into a double bottom and recover?
Ooh. That is the
Both are
question.
possible at this point.
Wow.
What are you wowing about?
Ooh, yes, CFLT's moving nicely. SPY. Another one of my slow movers. CFLT has just been sitting at like down 35% for the last like week and a half. And people are like, what are you doing? I'm like, not looking at it because I don't
It
expect
popped
it
like
to
crazy
move.
today.
Oh yeah, no, it did pop like crazy, but I'm just like, I'm not. I'll look at it in October, potentially. SPY's looking, it looks like it's recovering off that 643 bounce it had, or like low 644s. Let's see if Snow's maintaining that momentum, that snowmentum, I should say. Um, it is. Looks like it's basing around 223 right now. So good signs for all of our skiers out there.
Well, snow, we had a Stacks AI call out for snow a while ago, and it's been down since, but this puts it back up into the positive. Like, there's still 17 of you guys here watching.
I know, like, do you guys just like us that much?
Just hanging out with us.
Just hanging
Just
out?
chilling. At least my baby crying didn't turn you guys away.
I think most of them have kids potentially, so.
Those NVDA weekly puts for 170 should be up around 80 to 90% at this point. But you're gonna have
If
a
those
little bit
levels
of,
hold.
yeah, if you're gonna have a little bit of decay, and you're also gonna have to deal with the conference call coming up in about 15 minutes. The 160 puts I called out for next week should be close to double now, 80 to 90% if it holds at this point. The 200 calls for next week that I called out are going to be down about 50 or 60%. But at least that's, if you had bought this week the 200, those are basically wiped out.
Those are kaputzed. You're getting IV crushed at that point.
Yeah, the 200 calls for this week are going to drop by like 70 to 80%, if not close to 99 by tomorrow.
What is everybody drop one stock if you're still here with us in the chat that you are going to continue to trade through 2025?
Real quick, let's talk about, they asked about Bill.
Oh, Bill, yes.
Oh, well, Bill just had their earnings, and they fell like crazy and then came all the way back up. They're up 3% after hours.
Jesus.
Look at that.
They went down to 30, a $5 move on a sub $50 share stock. Oh, that is.
So I think this was it. Bill, we have a Stacks AI call. All right. We had on the 19th. And that's basically been it. We had another buy on the 20th for 500K, but they spent almost $3 million here, not only selling puts but also buying some calls. So expecting to stay above that 32.50, expecting to hit and go toward 50. That's a 22% move upward. And I mean, the chart itself, chart doesn't look too bad, especially, I mean, with this earnings. We've got a head and shoulders pattern in here. Right here.
Wow, yeah, Bill made a nice little, don't want to call it a comeback, but it was a comeback.
With a head and shoulders move, you're looking from the head to the neckline and measuring from that neckline up. So the target for this would be I mean, it definitely will have some resistance over here at about 45, but you could see around 46.30 and possibly even higher in time. Which would kind of align with where it's at right now. It looks like it could be going through some form of accumulation at this point. Let's look at the numbers. One of the things I've been looking out for recently is whether or not a company actually makes money. Bill does make money. They're in the positive, but their net margin for last quarter was negative. Oh, net margin still. Hold on.
They've been around for a really long time, though, dude.
Let's look a little deeper into their numbers.
What the hell? Who keeps opening my garage door? My neighbors are so annoying. Because we all have garages that are, like, linked. Yeah, that's it closing. So we have these, like... You can control your garage door from your thing, and it randomly will just open. Like it just like at 4:49, it was like Max's garage is open. I'm like, the fuck it is.
BMNR, Bitmine Immersion. This is Tom Lee, right?
Alejandro, is that Tom Lee?
He's a chairman at Bitmine. And he's got a prediction for Ethereum that Ethereum could be worth 12 to 15K by the end of this year. They're down right now, but let's peek over at stacks. More bullish than bearish for sure. I mean, a thought that I have toward this, and it's kind of... So, in the stock market, you tend to have these people that are viewed as gurus. So, for the easiest example is going to be our favorite Mr. Warren Buffett. The moment that he opens his mouth and says, I'm buying this, what ends up happening? Everybody legs into it together, and it pushes the stock up right away. There's a little bit of this that is a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you understand that, what it basically means is the expectation leads to behavior. That behavior therefore reinforces that expectation, which goes into a cycle. So the thought that everybody looks at Warren Buffett as you're somebody that's always right with your stock picks, therefore everybody goes and buys the stocks that he has, therefore the stock itself goes up, which only reinforces the fact that he's right, which makes people believe more and continues that cycle. What I think is going to happen with Bitmine is the fact that Tom Lee has kind of become that in terms of the last couple years. Tom Lee, when SPY was trading around $500, and he was the one that continuously voiced, hey, I believe that we're going to see 600 for SPY. We're going to see even higher. We're going to continue to go up. The economy is actually good. Things aren't in that recessionary phase that we would expect. And he kept making these predictions and ultimately was correct. So we're seeing a lot more of that expectation with Tom Lee, and the fact that he's a chairman on this board for Bitmine, I think that that's going to create a little bit of the self-fulfilling prophecy when it comes down to it. So people are going to look at it as Tom Lee's making these predictions for Ethereum, and what's going to happen? People are going to go buy into Ethereum. It's going to push the price up, which only reinforces the fact that he made this prediction and makes him correct, and more people are going to cycle into it and ultimately push it up further. So, the human psychology of what happens in the markets is something to consider. And that's where I would look at Bitmine and look at it as, I think they are set up for success in the long run because of the voices that are backing it at this point. Now again, I could be completely wrong with it, and at the end of the day, Tom Lee could finally have something that is incorrect, and he could move away from that top tier spot that he's kind of viewed in at this point. But psychology says that we could see this higher. And another thing too to point out is that on Monday we saw a lot of this buying for Friday, that it's supposed to be above $50. And we've actually seen it drop to 46. But there is a theory. There was this thing that he was talking about how in a lot of historic ratios of Ethereum to Bitcoin, Ethereum is valued at about 1/20th or 0.05 of Bitcoin. And if you take that for where Bitcoin's trading at about the 1,200, or sorry, 120,000, geez, 120,000K, it's now viewed at 0.05, means that Ethereum should be worth around $7,000, like $6,000 to $7,000. So there is, if you're going by the ratios of it, ultimately I think Ethereum has legs to stand on. Ethereum also has a lot of more utilitarian uses for it. One of the examples I've heard of how the blockchain in general has a lot of future uses once we can get AI involved with it. One of the ones I love is the idea of drone delivery and even like flight paths for our planes. There is, I'm not an expert on how it works right now, but ultimately when you have a plane taking a certain path from point A to point B, it needs to go into a database so that people make sure they don't fly through that area at a certain time, so to avoid these types of collisions in the air. And that's how we have millions of flights throughout the year, and again, it's protected by these by that data being shared around the world. Now what we can do with something like Bitcoin and Ethereum is you can actually use that to be the public ledger or the public, the database that you can go on. And let's say Amazon has 100,000 deliveries going out, it can put it out onto the blockchain so that none of those drones run into each other as they're making their deliveries, not only to, but coming back as well. So we're still in early adoption phases for a lot of these things. So down the line, there definitely could be more and more value, more and more money being spent when it comes down to these different blockchain, variations of Bitcoin. So Ethereum, I'm bullish on Ethereum as well. We saw a lot of buying for ETHA. There's also a lot of ETFs for Ethereum that have kind of come up, and that is also going to lead into more money pouring into it too. So BMNR bullish in the long run. Short term, it's hard to tell. Again, those I'll use last week with us and Unity. We were basically a week short with our expiration with Unity. We would have seen decent profits with it if we just took an extra week out. So keep that in mind. But BMNR right here, definitely look at all these for 829. I like the ones that buy a little bit more time. So looking at October, $70 strike doesn't look too bad. Those are probably down at this point, so you could probably get in with a better entry price even. Hey, look at that. We managed to make it almost to NVIDIA's conference call coming up in about 2 minutes. Yeah, like I said, I think we're gonna chop around here till we see that conference call. Conference call is more bullish than bearish. I am sure that overall they've already discussed what topics that they need to be careful with their language. Like Max basically did say, if their forecasts for the next quarter do not include the China tariff or the 15% share with the US, um, I think that itself could probably, I think that's the factor that could push this down further. If they approach that incorrectly in the PR side of this, that could push it down further. But overall, would expect that they know that's about to happen. They know that that's kind of the touchy subject and the point that they need to be careful with. So I'm sure I'm sure they've run it through, their own PR team to try to figure out how they can approach it with the least negative impact out, with it. Man, we've been on here for 2 hours now.
Yeah, I think you got reports to write, I got reports to write.
I'll give it like 5 minutes into this conference call, and I think we're gonna call it from there.
Yeah, because
Just
the
see if we
conference
see any
call
price movement.
should give us some kind of reaction here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it based off around like 174.
I look at it as we're just here to see if LeBron hits that game winner shot, or if he gets sent to the free throw line and bricks it. That's what we're looking at here. LeBron's like a 60 to 70% free throw shooter career wise, so I mean, that was never his strong point.
No, he's a better coach than he is a player. I look at him like Bill Russell.
He's a better GM.
I look at him as Bill Russell in terms of like the impact. Like Bill Russell, first off, anyone can fight me on this. One of the greatest, if not the greatest player of all time. Like he didn't only win championships, but he won championships as a coach, a player coach, because they didn't have a coach. So he was coaching the team and playing and also won MVP. So just let that sink in. And then he won 3 championships that way, which is insane. And then back at a time where like they weren't really allowed to play basketball either. So it wasn't like popularized. My neighbor who I grew up with actually went to school with Bill Russell in Oakland.
That's crazy.
I know. He told us stories about him and stuff because they knew each other. I was like, what the heck? Like, how old are you, Cecil? Jesus.
See what happens with this formation that we're in right now with NVIDIA. Does it continue to bounce off this lower trend line, or are we going to see it break in a direction? Also, thank you to all of you guys that hit that like button. We've got 13 likes for today, which I think is a record on our live stream. We had, at the height of it, over 30. I think I want to say like 32 viewers was the max we had. We still got 9 people here watching. These are the 9 people that really want to see what happens with this earnings call.
With this call. And who can blame him? Who can blame them? I think AAL is going to pay out very nicely for this 1K challenge, by the way. Here we go.
I think AAL is going to be the move.
It's getting bought. That wick is getting bought up. That's one thing I always pay attention to during conference calls are wicks getting bought up, or are they just like kind of basing off and then moving on to the next, especially on like a 5-minute time frame or 15-minute time frame.
Yeah.
Because if you see like a no wick candle, then it's like, okay, let let the blood gates open. Looks like someone decided to wear white pants on the wrong day. Labor Day isn't the only bad day to wear white pants, or after Labor Day.
Just waiting for like a giant candle to form somewhere. You just see
Dude,
a jump.
I feel like all I've been talking about is Trump and firing people and the wild moves he's making and NVDA earnings. Those are like the two news stories that have basically covered everything.
I feel like things have been kind of stale with the flow until this is
Until this
over.
gets worked out,
Yeah.
yeah.
Once we see market open, like next week, we're gonna start to see some. Well, keep in mind we have the end of the month is coming up, and then a fresh
When's
month.
it?
September, I do believe seasonality tends to be a little bit more negative. August and September tend to be bad. You
Do
have a
we have
lot of people
OPEX?
sell off. I think we do have some numbers coming out soon. Some economic numbers.
We have PCE this Friday. I'll have PCE scenarios done tomorrow morning. Or I'll probably make a video on them tonight. Just like if we come in above, below, at at expectations. Bill's still going up.
Oh, we see a little bit of a drop in NVIDIA. Bills now up 3.89%. NVIDIA keeps testing this lower bound, keeps bouncing off of it. But it's also testing this upper part of this wedge, and it's coming back down too. So I think we'll see it make its real move in the next 5 minutes or so. It's gonna have to break in a direction. Yeah, it's got to get back over this 176.78. But yeah, I mean, I honestly was expecting a little more excitement with NVIDIA earnings. If it was gonna go down, I thought it was gonna go down at least like 6 to 10%. But 3 to 4% for something like this, that's overall still it's a good sign for bulls, at least, if you're still bullish on this name.
Oh, there we go.
Jensen
There
came
we
on.
go.
Jensen's on the screen. That's what that means.
Jensen's like, "What's up? What's up, Square Bears? You wanna go smoke some cigarettes in the parking lot and ditch this popsicle stand, or what?"
There's the pop. Just got to get over that.
Poop. There it is. 178.
As long as it doesn't wick back down. Will we see him make the recovery? Does it come out holding some new chip that they're about to unveil?
Oh, no. Buyers are dominating this candle. I'm watching Footprint right now over on TraderLink.
Yeah.
If you look at the 5-minute candle that's going on right now, buyers are stepping in each time sellers go to sell off.
Does that negative delta on the top of that show that it's headed up afterwards?
Yeah, because the negative delta shows an imbalance of buyers versus sellers. Yeah, like buyers versus sellers. So left side you're looking at sellers, right side you're looking at buyers, basically. And all you're looking for is these aggregate numbers above to be more than where these bases are forming. And then when you click on it, you'll see like under. So we're seeing that big wick down because we're seeing, do you see the 46,000 versus the 10,000?
Here, let me. Why can't I change it? Discord backtest. I was gonna share my trader link, but it's not showing.
Dang.
But you basically do want this candle to close, right? On there before you decide on.
So you want it to close above. Ideally, we'd want it to close above the 177.46.7. You see where that 46,104 number is?
Yeah.
And then you see the 10,000 next to it on the right.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, this is just this can be looked at as a resistance point because sellers dominated that candle because you had people going over the bid price, but we only had 10,000 under the asking. And with all the sellers on the left and all the buyers on the right, that's how it gets that negative 42,000 delta. Because they have the 25K point where they dominated and the 46K point where they dominated, which would add up to about 42,000. But
I'll pull that up for you guys next time. I don't know why my OBS isn't letting me do it.
Also, I would like to announce that tonight, Eric, can I announce the WaveX tutorial? Yeah. So tonight, so we will be, Monday is our release date, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Monday we will be releasing WaveX, and tonight, if you aren't already, go ahead and subscribe to YouTube, Twitter, all of that kind of good stuff on IC Trades and Trades&Gains, because tonight we will be dropping a WaveX tutorial. So it's going to basically break down what all those spaghetti lines mean, and it's going to make your Robin Hood chart and Webull charts look like an Etch-a-Sketch by the time I'm done explaining to you what everything means and how you can leverage it into your trading strategy today. So definitely excited to make that. I think I'm used to calling it net flow because that's kind of what I look at it as. It's like the net of everything. It's definitely a very powerful tool if you don't want to have to read each print that comes through and you just want an overall vibe check, if you want to, as the kids call it. It's a very great way to see where are people putting money. So very excited to introduce that to you all and get that out to you all as well, because I think it's something you'll all enjoy, and it's definitely something I've always used in options trading to help me even just understand options flow better from a technical perspective of like, what am I looking at, you know? Mm-hmm. So they got to know something. Yeah. I could see that.
Damn, I was on mute. My bad. Like I said, I think we're gonna head out now, but we'll see what ends up happening. I've got my alert set, and ultimately, I think it's probably gonna open up between that 176 to 178 range tomorrow, and both sides of the options, both calls and puts, are probably gonna get burned. Big winner is always gonna be the market maker. Let's just put it that way. All right. Good to have you guys all. Thank you again for watching. Make sure you hit that like button for us so that we can get this pushed out to more people in the algorithm. But we will see you guys in the next one. Every Wednesday we'll be on here. Doesn't matter what earnings it is. If you are in our Discord, we will be doing our live streams in there and our closing bell in there for you guys to go over, closing bell and all that. Have a great one, you guys. Until the next one.